Hey guys, it's your international award winning author, literary extraordinaire, and awe inspiring coach, Tennille M. Jackson. And this is Educated and Empowered. Hey guys, it is your international award winning author, literary extraordinaire, and awe inspiring coach, Tennille M. Jackson, coming to you guys with another educated and empowered. So I want to officially welcome you all. I am so super duper excited. I mean, first of all, I'm just alive and well. So that in and of itself is great. But it is the end of another week, right? And so I don't know about you all, but I was really at the point where I was going to ask somebody, can you press pause just for like a little minute because the time is just flying by. So has anybody else felt that way, that it seems as though these weeks are just really flying by? We have a great show for you on today. So I want for you guys to, again, as I always tell you, feel free to join us. Feel free to bring your questions to the broadcast. If you are watching live, then you will be able to ask your questions. Make sure you say hello. Let me know that you are tuning in. If you listen to this on the podcast, then you guys can also interact there too. But we are coming live on Facebook, Instagram, as well as YouTube. And so, what we want to do is to encourage you to follow us, right? Educated and empowered. This thing is a movement, it's going faster than I even imagined. And so I'm grateful for that. And so if you want to join the movement, again, I want you to know that whatever you have done thus far to show your support, it is so greatly appreciated. If you are just coming on and coming into understanding what this whole thing is about, educated and empowered, you can find out more by either going to our Facebook page. We have a fan page on Facebook. You can like that. That's Educated and Empowered 2.0. If you want to follow us on Instagram, because maybe you're like, hey, I'm not really on Facebook that much, you can go to Instagram as well as TikTok. So I am still getting acclimated to the TikTok community, watching videos, figuring out how I'm going to jump in. But we are also on TikTok at Educated and Empowered. So educated and empowered everywhere. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook fan page. You can like and follow all of those things. Also, if you are one that likes to listen on the go, we do have an Educated and Empowered podcast over on Anchor, and you can go ahead and you can follow that. You can support it. If you want to support it, send a donation my way. That is greatly appreciated. But we have some shows that's already over there. So if you want to go and listen to the podcast, you can do that too. And then finally, I told y'all it's a whole lot of stuff with Educated and Empowered. Finally, when you go to when you if you want to show your support, you can go to our online store, right? It is not just apparel. Hey, Miss Sharon, it is not just apparel. When we started, it was just t-shirts, and I don't know if you guys can see me, but I am wearing an Educated and Empowered shirt today, and it says that there's no reason not to know. So they come in all different colors, but we started out with just t-shirts. But if you go over to the apparel store, the online store, again, it's not just apparel. You got t-shirts and joggers and hats and all of that good stuff, masks, all of that, yes. But you also have water bottles and tumblers and pillows. You got a lot of stuff. And then if you go to the digital store, I'll be uploading that with some goodies. There are already two ebooks that's over there there at the digital store, but I'll be loading that up with different tutorials and courses as well. So you'll be able to get in where you fit in. So all price points, if you like just to show your free support, then go ahead and like us and follow us across social media. If you don't mind spending a couple dollars, then again, show your support with the podcast on Anchor or go to that online store and get you something good. So today is our current events day. So again, if you guys keep up with us, every Friday we do a different type of show. First Fridays is on parenting, second Fridays is relationships, third Fridays is current events, fourth Fridays we talk about mental health issues, and then the final Friday of the month, if there is a fifth Friday like this month, then we talk about politics. Hello, Miss Tanya. As you all are coming on, again, please feel free to say hello, hit the like button, hit the share button, tag somebody that you believe would benefit from this broadcast. So today we are talking about current events. Okay. So when I do a current event show, then we're always going to think who, what, where. Okay. So who is a person, place, thing? That's what we're going to be talking about. Person, place, thing. So the person that I want to talk about, I recently watched Dave Chappelle's live comedy act. I don't know if you all saw it. It's on Netflix. I want to say the name of it is The Closer. And let me say this. I very rarely do I describe myself as a fan of anybody, right? I support certain people, or that's really hey, Miss Augie, that's really my term, is that I support people or I follow them, right? But the reason why I don't necessarily call myself a fan of people is because I believe that everybody is on the same level. But in the case of celebrities, I always say they just got their 15 minutes before I did, right? And so it's no hateration there, but I don't, like the only person I look at like that is God. So I don't put people on pedestals and stuff like that. I just don't believe in doing that. But I will say this, over the last couple years, I would say probably since the pandemic, I was not a person that really followed Dave Chappelle. I never watched the Chappelle show. I didn't know anything about his works. I knew he was a comedian. So in general terms, if people would have asked me, what do I know about Dave Chappelle? I would say a comedian, right? And so that's my truth. And that's where I'm coming from. So I don't want for you all to feel that when I'm talking about this is somebody who's just a fan of his, who can't see any wrong with him. So therefore, I'm able to bring an objective perspective to the broadcast and talking about him. And I will say this, over the course of the pandemic, I was able to review various Netflix specials that he had. I believe I did a live before, and I want to say it was 846, right? Or something to that effect. I think that was the name of it, where it was a special that he did, but it was a very somber special. It was like his first time, I think, since the pandemic, getting us all back together, right? So anybody that, if you watch his material, if you've ever watched his shows, first of all, he's not afraid to use profanity. So if you have those type of ears that's like, he said the F word or the M word or the D word or whatever, he says all of them a whole lot. And so if you are not one who's able to like drown that out to get the message, you won't want to watch his show. Okay. Hey, Ms. Witt. But if you are one who appreciates artistic expression, and again, I am not a person that typically watches comedians that does a lot of profanity, but for me, Dave Chappelle is a very intellectual comedian, right? So he's not just, hey Carla, he is not just one that is throwing out profanity because he has nothing else to say, right? So it's many people don't understand that comedy is also an art form, just as poetry is, spoken word is. Everybody can't tell a joke, as simple as it may sound to you. Have you ever heard somebody try to tell you a joke and they didn't even know how to deliver the punchline? So it's just like, Womp, womp. You know what I'm saying? Somebody else who this is what they do, they can tell the same joke and the whole room is just exploding, right? And so, absolutely, it is definitely an art to being a comedian. And so, in either case, with Dave Chappelle, he's actually a comedian that I would use the term that you guys use. He's woke, right? He is very he's very aware of what's going on with the world, with the times, and he brings that into his comedy, right? He is very interesting the way that he chooses to do it. And I think a lot of times people, if you don't follow him, you just automatically assume that he's just another black comedian using a lot of profanity because they ain't got nothing better to do. That's how many black comics are written off, right? But there's such an art to what it is that he does, and he does it in such a way that is very thought provoking. And so if you all have not seen this special that I'm talking about, that's called The Closer on Netflix, this is not a spoiler alert. I am not going to talk about the entire comedy show. What I want to do was talk about this one issue that he brought up, and really the whole special was kind of all based off of this one thing. Obviously there are various issues that he talks about, because he talks about because almost like DL Hughley, he talks about politically conscious things. He talks about, again, whatever is going on in the world. And I admire people who position themselves in a way that this might not be the most popular thing. This might not be liked by everybody, but it still needs to be said. And so I'm going to use my platform to say it. That's really kind of his stance, right? Like, I'm not necessarily trying to go after anybody, but this is my platform, and so I'm going to address things that I see. And so, you know how we always say, see something, say something. So he says something. And so I want to bring this particular point to the broadcast just to get your feedback. So there's a point where, hey, Miss Jennifer, there's a point where on the broadcast he talks about with the LGBTQIA, all of the rest of I don't know all of the letters, but I know there's a lot of them. So LBT, LBGTQ, all of them, that community, right? And so he talks about how um for whatever the reason is, and I'm sure he's probably said things in his comedy specials where they took it offensively, right? And his stance is that he does not hate that community. He is not homophobic. He is not any of those things. But for him, he feels that all jokes should be created equal. If he talks about black people, white people, straight people, he should also be able to talk about gay people, right? And so that's one of the questions that I have. Do you feel that all bets should be off when you are doing jokes about various communities or various types of people? Should there only be certain types of people that you can make jokes about? Because to his point is, if we are all supposed to be created equal, and if you want for me to embrace you like I embrace everybody else, why should I then make a difference and separate you? If I talk about men, women, blacks, whites, poors, rich, why should I not talk about, make some type of comedic joke about you? If anything, that's showing that I'm embracing you. That is his mentality. That Wit says, I'm with Dave, laugh and move on. I've gotten roasted at a comedy show and laughed at myself. And this is what I'm saying. Like, if this is his platform, he is a comedian. So it's not like you come into a Dave Chappelle show thinking that you're about to do praise and worship. You see what I'm saying? This isn't a church. You know that he's a comedian. And so if you don't want to laugh, or you don't like, every comedian has a different way of telling jokes, right? Just like every author is not created equal. So for example, I'm an author. I've written across genre, but if you're looking for sci-fi, then you're not finna read my stuff. If you looking for erotica, you're not gonna read my stuff. Am I offended? No, that's just not what I do, right? So it's like, okay, you look at Trevor Noah. Trevor Noah is a very popular comedian as well, but he is not a Dave Chappelle. Like, they both address things that is in the politically the political sectors two different ways. So I feel that the responsibility should be on the attendee, right? Like, if you are going to get offended at somebody's art, they shouldn't have to change their art because it offends you. You see what I'm saying? Like, this is freedom of expression. But let me go on before I get roasted. I totally agree with Dave. If he has to walk on eggshells, then comedy won't be funny anymore. And you know what? I was watching Dion Cole, who pretty much said the same thing. Like, comedy is it's an artistic art form, and the entire point of comedy, well, I won't say the entire point, but one of the purposes of comedy is to make you laugh. And again, depending on the type of comedy, so whether you go back to your Dick Gregory's and Richard Pryor's, Red Fox's, whether you look at, like your modern day comics like Trevor Noah, Dave Chappelle, like, there are people who, yes, they will insert the political climate to make you think. Everybody chooses to use their platform in a different way, right? But here is another question I want to bring to the surface. Now, he said, so one of the things he addressed, he says something about, is it possible for the LGBTQ community to be racist, right? Because here's one of the things that I have noticed, and this is when I think he's a rapper, Lil Nas X, when he came out, and everybody was trashing anybody who had anything to say about the video that he did, when he goes to hell and he kills Satan. And so the mentality is, and again, when this video came out, everybody on Facebook, Twitter, everywhere, everybody was talking about it. And this is my belief. And I want to make sure that I say this right, so that way I don't have to say it again. I believe that it does not matter who you are, you can be right or wrong. I do not believe that because you are a certain age, race, gender, sexual orientation, that you should be exempt from being right or wrong. And whereas I believe in equality for all people, I believe that just because you are a part of the LGBTQ community, that should not exempt you from having to face the same music that somebody who's not from that community would face. So if you had somebody who was a straight male or female, and if they did a video that many, including myself, would consider distasteful, I don't consider it distasteful because you are gay. I consider it distasteful because it's distasteful. I don't like that. And I feel like what has happened is we have become a society right now where everybody is so pro LGBTQ that they just totally disregard if they are also doing something wrong, right? So for me, if you straight and you do something wrong, I should be able to call you out on it. If you gay, lesbian, homosexual, pansexual, whatever your preference is, I should be able to call you out on it. And when I say I don't mean me specifically. I mean, even though I will too, but it should be, if we're going to do equality, it should be equality in all areas. It shouldn't be, okay, well, they have that, you have the right to marry who you want to marry and love who you want to love, but then you don't have the right to be criticized like somebody else will be. It's either all or none. Do you see what I'm saying? And I think in watching Dave Chappelle's act, that was his point, to the fact that he has gotten so overly criticized because he's talking about things that are taken to be offensive, when, if, because let me say this, as a woman, he uses the B word pretty fluently. fluently, and frequently. All of those. Okay. So I mean, just every other word, every other line, he uses the B word. But here's my point. If I'm coming to his show and if I don't like the fact that he uses the B word frequently, guess what? I'm going to take my remote control and I'm going to change the channel. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, to go a step to say that he doesn't have the right to say what he says, that's his art form. I mean, because at the end of the day, it's the same way when you have people that's saying really negative racist terms. Okay. We have to be fair across the board. And this is my point. So, whether you're talking about freedom of speech, whether you're talking about freedom of expression, whether you're talking about gender equality, it has to be fair across the board. So, if we are going to say that the LGBTQ community should have equal rights, which again, I am pro equal rights. Okay. So say whatever you want to say, hit me in the inbox however you want to. I believe that God created everybody equal. I feel that white people are not better than black people. I feel that rich people are not better than poor people. So I don't feel like because you're gay or homosexual or whatever your preference is, I don't feel that that makes you inferior to somebody who is straight. I feel that we mix messages because I believe, as a believer, do I agree with your sexual orientation? I do not. However, I have no heaven or hell to put anybody in. However, I understand that yes, you have to represent something, but one of the things that I believe is that it's so much easier for people to get on that bandwagon because it's seemingly black and white, right? But as a believer, I will also say that it bothers me that the only sin that believers typically want to call out is homosexuality. Because guess what? The same hell got room for fornicators, adulterers, murderers, liars, thieves. Do y'all see what I'm saying? People who are prideful, because it lists the 7 things that God hates: proud look, lying tongue, sowing discord, all of those things. You going to the same hell. And so we have to be very careful about being judgmental. So for me, it's not about judging and saying, oh, well, don't talk about this community or that community. I want for everybody to be able, in the spirit of Rodney King, can't we all just get along? But I do feel that they should not be exempt. It does not mean that everybody is homophobic just because people may not agree with your stance, right? If I'm a heterosexual female, if I'm talking to another heterosexual female, and if we disagree, then guess what? I don't disagree with her because of her gender. I don't disagree with her because of her sexual orientation or her preference. I disagree with her because I don't agree with what she's saying. Do you understand what I'm saying? And it almost seems as though we have gotten to a point where no matter what the LGBTQ community does, it's exempt, because if you stand up against it, then it's being equated to being homophobic. No, I just don't agree with your stance. If you say that, that you feel like Trump is, or you know what, let's not make it political. If you say that it's black outside, it's dark outside, but I see sun, I'm gonna say it's not dark outside. I'm not disagreeing with you or feeling like you wrong because you are part of the LGBTQ community. I don't agree with your stance. So regardless of who you were, I wouldn't agree with your stance. And so I just think, in wrapping this up so we can go to the next segment, um, I admire what Dave Chappelle did because it took a lot of courage to do what he did in the manner that he did it in. And again, I will not spoil it, so I won't tell y'all exactly the impact of what that statement is. I would encourage you to go ahead and watch the comedy special to see what he did, and especially towards the end, because it's easy for people to criticize and pick apart. It's more difficult to come to somebody, have a conversation, and let's see what type of resolution we can come to together, right? Not in your corner talking about me, right? Because at the end of the day, if you mad because I'm talking about you, then when you go back and you talk about me, ain't you ain't you doing the exact same thing you just criticized me for doing? Like what's really the difference, right? So I just if we're gonna sum up this segment, I want to say we can sum it up talking about equal treatment. Like everybody deserves respect, no matter who it is. If you want respect, you have to give respect, and you have to understand that everybody is open to, whatever. You don't get to be exempt just because you're in one particular community. So rich people, you're not exempt from whatever. White people, black people, whatever. We cannot allow our racial differences, our economical differences, relationship status, political, we cannot allow those differences to make us feel as though somebody is superior or inferior, because at the end of the day, we're really all on the same level. Let me see. Come on. Tavetta says you that I'm right. Equality for all or none. Absolutely. It has to be. It has to be that way. And so in either case, guys, now that is so if you're just now tuning in, this is the current events edition of Educated and Empowered. So current events, we talk about people, places, and things. So the first part we were talking, our person that we wanted to discuss was Dave Chappelle. And again, you can go to Netflix and watch that comedy special. It's called The Closer. Now I want to talk about the place, which is Dallas, Texas. Dallas, Texas, November 5th and 6th will be the home to the Woman Evolve Conference. I don't know if you saw the picture, but I put it up. It's a late post. So a few days ago, earlier this week, I had the pleasure of being on a Zoom call with Pastor Sarah Jakes Roberts. Many of you know her as the wife of Teray Roberts, Pastor Teray Roberts. Many of you know her as the daughter of Bishop T.D. Jakes, but she is the co-pastor of One LA, the Potter's House One LA. So it's one in Denver, it's one in LA, obviously. And so this is someone who on YouTube, I have watched her YouTube videos a lot, like for a very long time, probably at least 3 or 4 years. I used to follow Priscilla Shire, like she was the main person that I followed. And so in following Priscilla Shire, who you may know her from War Room, she was the wife in the movie War Room, but Priscilla Shire is an incredible religious speaker. She says she's an inspirational speaker, but she knows the Bible like nobody's business, right? And so I think in watching her one day, because I say I used to, I still watch her, but the point is I was watching her, and I think that somehow, because when you're on YouTube, one video go to another video, and so I ended up seeing Sarah, and I was like, look at, okay, like, because she's really down to earth. She's really she makes learning the word really, I'll say, interesting, right? So it's not gonna be your regular run of the mill sermon on Sunday where you going to sleep, okay? And so I will say this. I don't know. Hold on, y'all. So sorry, Instagram. Y'all, somehow my ring light just popped out my phone on Instagram and said not no more. Okay, hold on. All right, so let's try that again. So one day, this is maybe about 2 or 3 years ago, a good girlfriend of mine, she had heard about, I don't know if it was Woman Evolve or some other something that Sarah Jakes was doing, and she was coming to Chicago. She was coming to House of Hope. And so my girlfriend was actually attending that event. And she told me, she's like, matter of fact, I think it was Woman Evolving, but like again, this was about 2018 or 2019. And she says to me, she's like, you really need to do this thing. Like, at the very least, you need to meet her, because she said, I think that you and her are so much alike. Y'all would really click if ever you all were to meet. Right. And so I guess she must have just planted that seed. So Thank you, girl. So in either case, I heard about this Woman Evolve conference, and anybody that's watching that's a part of I'm glad to be a woman, it is very reminiscent of the thing of what we do when we come together. Is just obviously on a much larger level, on a much more grand scale. Okay. And so normally, I'm not one that attends women's conferences. That's just not my thing. Even within, the Kojic church, I just, I might go to, we have like a woman's workshop, and I do that. I might go there, but that's like a annual once, just in general, conferences ain't my thing. Okay. That's normally not what I do. But I kept hearing about this conference everywhere I turn this. And you know how it's almost like it's confirmation. I don't just mean how Facebook sets you up. You know how like when you're on Facebook, you thinking about something or talking about something, then next thing you know, every ad on your timeline thereafter is about that thing. So I don't mean that. No, but it was just what I just called was confirmation, because no matter where I went or even people that I would talk to, and they were talking about this conference, and I just really felt as though the Lord was tugging on my spirit for me to go. Now, again, any of you that know me personally know that I am not one that normally travels alone. Like, I'm still coming into that. When I went to Vegas this year for my birthday by myself, that was probably, I think, the first time that I ever, no, that wasn't the first time. That was actually the second time I traveled alone, because I had to go to Georgia in September last year for a couple weeks by myself. But in either case, so the point is that this is relatively new for me. Traveling by myself, doing things on my own, is relatively new. And when you are an introvert, going places by yourself is not necessarily top of your list, right? I'm the type of person, whenever I would go somewhere, I would always have an assistant. I would always have my sister. Somebody is going to be there. So just in case I get to a room and nobody is talking to me, I have somebody that I'm talking to. And in fact, I have a book that I'm writing that's geared toward that. And so maybe at some point it'll come out sometime, prayerfully sometime 2022, 2023. But anyway, the point is, this thing just wouldn't let me be. And so I looked it up, and I found out, okay, tickets are not sold out yet. So I said, okay, well, if the tickets are not sold out yet, maybe it's telling me something. And when I tell you how I was playing games with myself, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna leave it on my computer today, and if by tomorrow the tickets are still available, then I'll go. And then I started looking up like hotels and stuff in Dallas, and then I started looking up like the packages. So if I went to, if I did the package that they have on Expedia, so if I do like a flight and a hotel, like, I'm trying to come up with any reason for me not to go. Well, if it's over this amount, then I'm not gonna go. But when I tell you that I put this thing off for probably about 4 or 5 days, tickets were still there. I don't even know if they've sold out yet. They may be sold out at this point, but it was just for me. I had asked my daughter. Here's the other thing. I asked my daughter. I was like, "You want to go?" And she was like, mm, I don't really, I don't know. And so then I asked my sister, and my sister was like, well, I don't really know what I'm gonna have to do. And so the Lord began to really kind of speak to me, and to the point where I was like, you know what? Maybe it's not for them. Maybe this is for me. And I just want to stop right there and just to say to somebody that you may be in a situation where you are in the midst of or the process of leveling up, or making a change or doing something different. And sometimes it is necessary when you're doing something different that you do it alone. It may not always be meant to be a group project. It may not always be meant for it to be, hey, Miss Portia. It may not always be meant to be where 50 people go, and sometimes we talk ourselves out of our own blessing. We pray for things. We're asking God for clarity. We're asking to be led. We're asking for signs, but we have this built-in contingency that, okay, it has to be for me and my best friend, me and my significant other, me and my kids, me and sometimes it's not meant for everybody to go. And so it's like, how passionate are you really about your purpose? Like, do you only want to walk in it if 15 people can walk with you? Or are you willing to go even if you have to go by yourself, right? And so, and I was telling Pastor Sarah when we were on the call, I was like, I'm so excited to get to that room. I said, I have no clue what's going to be there. I just know that whatever it is going to be there when I get there. So this is a prime example of a faith walk. This is a prime example of a as they went situation, right? Because I have no clue what's going to be there. I just believe everything in me. First of all, I know the voice of God when I hear it. And everything in me knows that he is pushing me and prompting me to go. And so I'm going to get there. Hey, Miss Carrie. So I'm going to get there. And whatever it is, because I've already kind of prophesied over the room, I already told those ladies, like, I speak that there is going to be a Ephesians 3:20 atmosphere, is going to be exceeding abundantly above all blessings filled in that room, in that space, right? I believe that the glory of the Lord will be revealed, and I'm waiting to see exactly how he is going to show up and what it is that he is going to do. And so what I will tell you all, whether you're in the Dallas area or not, you can go to, I want to say it is Woman Evolve. Hold on, let me give y'all the right thing, because again, I'm not sure whether or not it's sold out. But if you go to, let's see, what's the website, y'all? Hold on. It is womanevolve.com. So if you go to womanevolve.com, if you are interested in going, Portia, let me tell you something. I believe God that I can do it, and I'm going to do it. Whatever it is what I'm going to do. So you guys can go. That's that. Oh, I wrote the website. Hold on, y'all. Don't type that website. That website is all types of wrong. So it is. Hold on. It's on Winnie and Twice. So let me do it again. This what happened when you type and you ain't got your glasses on. Okay. So if y'all go to that website, www.womanevolve, the second one that I put in there, www.womanevolve.com. Again, you can see whether or not the tickets are sold out. If this sounds like something that you are interested in and you feel that you need to be in that room as well. And no, I'm not getting paid to promote it. This is just something that was on my heart and something that I want to share with you all, that there are times when we are trying to go to the next level. And so, in order to do something or get something that you've never gotten, you have to do something that you've never done. Sometimes you have to come out of those same rooms. You got to come away from those same people. You got to start different practices, different regimens, different routines. So that way, because think about it, if every day you leave for work and you go the same route every single day, you know exactly what you're going to see before you even get there. You can tell other people, well, once you get to 83rd, right here on the corner, you're going to see this, that, and the third, right? But if you dare to take a different route, maybe taking a different route might take a little bit longer. Maybe, you don't know what that different route, but because you don't know what the different route may bring, it might be something that you never knew. Thank you so much, Portia. I That means a lot to me. Thank you. And so in either case, that is the place. So again, for those of you who are just now tuning in, this is the current events edition of Educated and Empowered, where we talk about the most up-to-date person, place, or thing that I deem that I deem worth discussing, right? So the person that we discussed Dave Chappelle and his comedy special, but not just the comedy special, the issue that was really pressing, that was integrated in that comedy special. And then the place that we talked about is Dallas, Texas. That is going to be the home of the 2021 Woman Evolve Conference this year. And obviously, it's hosted by Pastor Sarah Jakes Roberts. And so now let's get to the thing. So last Monday, it was a whole Facebook outage, right? Power outage wasn't happening. I don't care if all your lights in your house was on, that was not helping you to be able to tune into Facebook. You couldn't get on Facebook. You couldn't get on Instagram. You couldn't get on Messenger. And I'm told you couldn't get on WhatsApp. Even though I have the WhatsApp downloaded, I don't really use WhatsApp like that. So Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, and Messenger, all of it was down, right? And so I'm not here to talk about the conspiracy behind it, because so many people say it's because of the whistleblower, blah blah blah. You've already heard all of those stories, and you may have heard this one. But for me, what I want to look at is what that the lesson that outage should have taught us, right? The lesson that outage should have taught us. For many of us, we're only connected because of social media, right? So many of you may have 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 friends, all of these different pages, because it can't hold all of the people that follow you. You might have all of these people that you always inboxing. But what happens if your connection is lost? Do you see what I'm saying? There were a lot of people, and this only what I think Facebook was only down for maybe 6 hours or so, six, maybe 7 hours. So it wasn't down long, because earlier that day I had gotten on to promote the fact that I was supposed to be doing a show. And it went on. And so then, like about the 3 o'clock hour, because I had, after I promoted my show, I jumped off because I had other stuff that I had to tend to. And so about three or so, when I tried to jump back on, I'm like, I can't. What is it? My internet? But my internet was going to all these other websites. So no, it's not my internet. So then my smart self, I tried to inbox a couple people, and I was like, wait a minute. If Facebook ain't working, you ever had one of those slow, duh moments, like, duh, if Facebook is not working and Messenger is connected to Facebook, 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10, Messenger ain't gonna work either. If Facebook ain't working and the same person that control Facebook control Instagram. So it was funny to me though, because of the fact that we all, well, I won't say we all, many people had negative feedback about the fact that they could not get on Facebook. But you want to know where they aired it? I can't stand Facebook. I can't believe that they be down for that long. But you want to know where they were at when they were saying it? On Facebook. So I'm saying to myself, you can't stand this application. You so mad because it's down. But you get back on it to talk about how much you dislike it. Isn't that like just a little off somewhere? And so the point is, first of all, you guys make sure, and I say this all the time, make sure that you stay connected to the people that you want to be connected to outside of social media. Like, it's so great if we can use social media to connect us, right? So there are many people who you're friends with and you don't even know them. You don't even remember how you became friends. You don't even know when you became friends. So it's like, wait a minute, where do I know this person from? Or you've been friends so long but out of touch that you've forgotten either the purpose for you connecting, what were we supposed to do, or even how did we connect? Why do I know you? Are we mutual friends with somebody? But be intentional with the people that you do want to stay connected to, so that way, if another global outage occurs, you don't feel lost, because even though it may sound as though I'm making light of it, I'm really not. There were really a lot of people. Maybe you will hear the stats, maybe you won't. But there were a lot of people who were lost for those 6 hours, because, and I don't just even mean because there's a social media addiction. I mean that that's the only way that they're able to connect with people. Maybe it's because they don't have anybody else in their family. Maybe because these are the only friends they have. And before you become so judgmental to say, oh, it's sad if your only friends are on social media, let me tell you something. And I'm just going to be very transparent and shame myself. Okay. I remember about 10 years ago, no, probably about 8 years ago, I was not really on social media like that. Like, I was on Facebook in terms of I had an account, but I was not on Facebook every day. I was not using Facebook as I use it now to help to build my brand, to help to connect with incredible people like all of you all. I had got on social media, I got on Facebook because this was the new thing, and so I wanted to get on it. Now, my sister, on the other hand, when I say my sister lived on social media, like, and it wasn't that she was posting all the time, because keep in mind, when Facebook first came out, this was before you could love stuff. When Facebook first came out, all you could do was like stuff. There was no going live. There was no all of these different things we've been able to do over time to visually connect with each other. It was just the post, but you always had the inbox, right? And so for her, she had found a community, because again, it wasn't Messenger at the time, but you could see, so Messenger wasn't its own app, I'll say it like that. But whether it was in the inbox or within these groups, she had found this community or this space where she was just able to connect with people who got her. And I remember being one of the ones who gave her such a hard time. Like, why are you always on your phone? Why don't you deal with the people that's in real life, right? But trust me, I done already apologized to her 5 times over, 10 times over with this, because in the last maybe 2 to 3 years, when I tell you all that Facebook and being connected to, you end up finding a tribe, right? And I don't care if your tribe is only 10 people and Facebook is billions of people. You There is something about a connection that you're able to make, and it's seemingly genuine. I can't say that it's disgenuine, right? So it's when there are people who reach out to you, and these are not people that, maybe I don't know where you live, maybe I've never met you in person, but I'll never forget when I was sick, and you guys didn't know that I was sick, but I had just not been on. This was maybe about 2 years ago. I had just not been on for maybe about almost a week. By day 5 or 6, people began hitting me in the inbox. What's wrong? Everything okay? I miss your voice. I miss, and I'm saying these are women too. This ain't like men. So before y'all try to take it to the left, saying that, like, I miss your voice. I miss your episodes. Like, I really love watching what it is that you bring to the table. There are people who I've reached out to, I had no clue was tuned in, had no clue was watching me. Like, in my mind, I'm just doing my own thing. And people have told me, I just love how you help people. I love the inspiration that you give. I love, and you can have people in your real life, as we say it, right? That don't know you the way that your tribe knows you. You have people that, whether you live with them, you go to church with them, so they know you in real life. Hey, Miss Shar, but they couldn't even tell you what it is that you do. You see what I'm saying? You can be sitting to the table with them, dinner table, worship table, whatever. They can't tell you nothing about your everyday life. They're not connected or interested enough to know that this is what, I can tell you, I know that Shar is an author, and I know that she works with other authors. She's a speaker. I can say that. Why? Because I'm connected with her on social media. And it's like, when we get connected with people on social media, you at least have a reason to be interested in that person. You see what I'm trying to say? Because it's like out of all of these people, if you end up connecting with somebody, there's a why. There's typically a reason why you follow a person, why you friend a person. It's not that you have nothing better to do. You see what I'm saying? And so for me, I know that it has gotten to a point where, like, even when I've started doing May Stroke Awareness Month, there's a particular person, and she would tell me all the time, if you don't do it for nobody else, please do it for me. Me and my husband watch you all the time. And things like that. When you're talking about walking in purpose, right? A lot of us underestimate what that statement really means. A lot of us feels that you're only walking in purpose if you have a billion followers, if all of your videos go viral, if you have, all of these likes and shares, then you're walking in purpose. Many of us are under the wrong impression. When I say that, when when you know that you are making you know that you're making a difference in the life of somebody, even if it's just one person, because you never know who that one person is and who that one person is connected to. You see what I'm saying? And so a lot of times only this person was watching, or only this person. And I've gotten to a place in my life where I really try to avoid using the words just and only, unless I'm talking about cost. It's only, it's only $50. It's only, I need you to get this. It's only $100. So, like, if I'm talking about cost, I'll use just and only. But when I'm talking about purpose, when I'm talking about people, I try my best to avoid using just and only, because there's nothing minimal about what any of you all do. And so I want to kind of leave it on that note to say, don't take yourself for granted. Don't underestimate the impact that you have, because you're either comparing yourself to what somebody else did, or because you've made your quantity, you have confused your quality with quantity. Because it's not X amount of people watching, then you feel that that means that your message isn't as impactful. Please understand that that is not how purpose works. Because at the end of the day, if you remember, in the Bible says how the angels rejoice over one soul, right? Now, even though the context of that is when that sheep was lost and the sheep was brought back, like, you leave the 99 and you come to save the one. There are so many people that's out here, and this is why I say all the time that we don't have to compete. And my friend Tavetta was on here before, and she's the one that I get that statement from. You don't have to compete when you're complete. She's the one that I get that statement from. It's so many of us competing out here, and it's unnecessary, because when you look at how many people that there are in the world, period, how many people that's on social media, if that's going to be your market, it's so many different niches, it's so many different areas in which your focus can be. And everybody needs somebody, right? Even if you have somebody who is a leader needs a leader. So don't underestimate your value. Don't underestimate what it is that you bring to the table. So what? It's not like somebody else. That just helps your value proposition. You can say, hey, I don't do this and this like all these other people do. This is what I do. This is what makes me stand out, right? And so the final thing that I'll say, I heard this saying, if you want to be outstanding, you got to be willing to stand out. And a lot of times we try so hard. I just want to blend in. I just want to look like everybody else. I just want to be like everybody else. I just want to dress like everybody else, but you have to be willing, and it takes courage to go against the grain. It takes courage to be a trailblazer, to be a trendsetter, because trust me, the people who are setting the trends at the time when they did it, They didn't know this was going to be something that everybody did. They probably was on a hope and a prayer. And many cases, and this is if ever you watch documentaries, you will find this to be true. Many times the very thing that catches on, it was a fluke that they even did it. Like the outfit that they wore probably was because either they lost something, they broke something, they was trying to pack something up, they forgot this thing at home. So they were just trying to make do with what they had, not thinking, oh, like this wasn't intentional. I wasn't trying to set a trend. I wasn't trying to blaze a trail. You see what I'm saying? Many times you have to be in this thing for a long time before you even know the effects holistically. So that's how come you can't keep measuring. You can't allow the measurement to determine whether or not you keep going. You have to know what it is that your purpose to do, and believe that in my doing it, whoever it is that's supposed to receive it will receive it. So I don't know who that is for, but that is for somebody. Somebody has thought about going live or opening up a business or starting this, but I don't have a fan base. Who's going to watch me? I don't know if anybody going to tune in. That's for somebody. Understand that it does not matter. You don't have to know who's on the other end of that camera. There's sometimes even with Facebook where you see, okay, on the eye it might say one or two people were watching. In many cases, it may very well be more people. They just didn't actually click on the screen so that you know that they're watching, right? And then there are people who are watching that you don't know that they're watching if they don't say something. So don't feel like that because the numbers are not as high as you want them to be, that's reason for you not to execute that purpose. Shar says impact on one person can have a domino effect. Come on, and change multiple lives. Absolutely. And that goes right into me talking about, I always say that we are interdependent. So many times people focus on being independent. I want to do everything by myself on my own. I don't need no help. No man is an island unto himself. Okay. And then you got the other people who they ain't never trying to do nothing at all. They want to just always depend on somebody else. But my belief is that we are interdependent. My belief, again, I always use the Hezekiah Walker song, I Need You to Survive, is that I affect you. You affect the next person. Next person affects the next person, right? So I'm not gonna get everybody in my whole lifetime. I don't care how many. If I was to travel somewhere every day, I'm not going to get everybody. Somebody still is overlooked. Somebody still needs to be reached. Do you see what I'm saying? Real quick. And the only reason I'm saying this is because it goes with my message. I am one who's I am a sponsor for a child. Okay. I first, it doesn't seem like it's been a year, but there is a young girl and she's out of Nicaragua, and I sponsor her. Okay. And it was something that I felt compelled to do. Yes, I have all of these biological children and these children that I've raised and this and that and the third. But when you hear some of these stories, and these are babies, right? These are literal babies up to, 5, 6 years old. And when you're sadly wanting to help somebody, right? Like at the end of the day, it's always somebody that needs help, depending on the form of help that you want to offer. So it doesn't always have to be financial. It could be your time, donating your knowledge. Somebody needs to know what you know. And I just believe that there is a purpose for that, right? And so, like the other day, I had got something in the mail because once you sponsor one child, obviously they're going to constantly tell you about others. And I'm like, Lord, I just need to be led. And so there's yesterday it was another child that when I saw her, my heart just melted, and I'm like, yeah, we got to sponsor her too. And what is my point? Everybody needs somebody, right? It doesn't mean that they don't have parents that can't help. Maybe they're just not able to do all that they need. You see what I'm saying? And anybody who's ever had a child you know that children are expensive. Like, I ain't even talking about name brand shoes and stuff. I'm saying just if you looking at doctors' visits, taking on doctors and dentists and all of this type of stuff, and when you are a single parent, when you are a parent who have a child with special needs or whatever it may be, the point that I'm making is that we all need to find somebody that we're able to help. And sometimes it's not a proactive thing that you have to go looking. Sometimes God, he puts that assignment, and it's like he just drop it on you. You walk, and then boom, here's this thing, here's this person, here's whatever your assignment is. So don't feel like that it's always gonna be glitz and glamour. Don't feel like it's always got to be the popular thing. It got to be what everybody else is doing in order for it to matter. Just know that if it's your assignment, that it definitely matters. Hey, Miss Leah, so I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in to Educated and Empowered. And so I do ask that if you enjoyed this broadcast, that you hit the share button, tag somebody that you believe will benefit from this broadcast. And then again, if you all want to support, if you like what it is that you heard, then you know that you can always feel free to show your support. Hit your girl in the Cash App. It's $. My name is Tennille. But if you like this whole educated and empowered movement, right? If you like everything that we're doing, I'm wearing one of the educated and empowered t-shirts now. We actually have an online store where you can get this and so much more. I will have that. Matter of fact, let me try to see if I can put it in the comment section right now, because y'all know me and trying to type. So if you want to go to our shop, it is I am educated and empowered.com, right? So it's not just t-shirts, but it is all types of apparel. Also got masks, hats, water bottles, and then even digital products, right? So you can go to I am educated and empowered.com. And then again, if you like, you know what, I like what you're doing, but I just don't have the cash right now, then like the fan page on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram, Educated and Empowered 2.0, Educated and Empowered 2.0. We're on TikTok. I'm going to figure out how to get TikTok going, but we're on TikTok, Educated and Empowered. So you can definitely go there, and then also go to the podcast that is on Anchor. So if you guys would just go and listen, I have a lot of different broadcasts there. So it's Educated and Empowered, and we are available on all of the major mediums. You can go to that's right. So you can go to Apple Music, let me see, Spotify, what is it, Castbox? It's like it's all on Breaker. We're on like probably about 10 different platforms. So anchor.com/educated and empowered. Listen to some of the different podcasts that's there. So many different ways that you can show your support. And in either case, however it is that you do it, know that I greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. And don't forget to tune back in. I am live at 5 Monday, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. So next week is going to be a very special week. But until then, you guys enjoy your weekend and stay inspired.